So green thumb gardening is a small gardening service that uses activity-based costing to estimate cost for pricing and other purposes. The proprietor of the company believes the costs are driven primarily by the size of customer lawns, the size of customer garden bed, distance to travel customer, and the number of customers. In addition, the cost of maintaining garden beds depends on whether the beds are low maintenance beds, which is mainly ordinary trees and shrubs, or high maintenance beds, which consist of mainly flowers and exotic plants. Accordingly, the company uses the 5 activity cost pools listed below. So there are 5 activity cost pools: caring for a lawn, caring for garden beds with low maintenance, caring for garden bed with high maintenance, travel to jobs, customer billing and service. So each activity incurs some expense, right? And how can you measure? How can you measure the level of the activity? So here with the activity measures, okay? So how can you measure the level of amount of activities done for caring for a lawn? By the square feet of lawn, okay? So as long as you have greater square feet of lawn, then you should assign more cost that is driven by the caring service for a lawn, okay? How about the caring for garden bed? Square feet of garden bed, okay? So square feet of garden bed. And travel to job. Travel to job, the cost incurred by traveling to jobs increases with the miles of travel, right? So you should choose the right activity measures, right? Appropriate activity measures. But fortunately, you already have the activity measures in this question. But in practice, the most challenging part is defining what kind of activities are there. Okay, so you should define what kind of activities are involved. It is very challenging. And then what kind of metrics, what kind of specific measures you utilize to measure the level of activity. It is very challenging, right? So in many cases, these kind of reliable activity measures are not there, okay? So it is very complicated to find such a measurable and reliable measures, okay? So we will gonna address those kind of issues in the later part of our course. Anyhow, so the company already has completed its first stage allocation of cost and has summarized its annual cost and activity as follows. So activity cost pool here and estimated overhead cost. So caring for lawn assigned with $72,000. So how these numbers are driven? You already did this kind of first stage allocation, okay? So this number corresponds to this number, right? So you already accumulated all the costs assigned to certain activity, okay? So you assume that you already have done this kind of first stage allocation. So by through this first stage allocation, you already derived these numbers, okay? So caring for lawn assigned with 72,000, caring for garden beds with low maintenance 26,400, caring for garden beds with high maintenance assigned with 41,400, and travel to job assigned with 3,250, customer billing and service activity assigned with 8,750. And here the expected activity levels are provided. So 150,000 square feet of lawn in total, okay? Then how can you compute the activity rate? So activity rate is defined by assigned cost to the cost pool divided by total activity level. Okay, so for caring for loan, assigned cost to this activity is $72,000, and there are 150,000 square feet of lawn in total. Okay, so per square foot, you consume 48 cents of cost. Okay, so you have this area of the lawn. Okay, and let's say that this is 1 square foot. Okay, then for each square foot you incur carrying cost for lawn $48. Okay, and another $48 for 1 square foot, another $48. Okay, so let's say that there is a customer A. Okay, customer A has this area of square foot. Let's say this area is 100 square foot. Okay, then for this customer, for this order, you incur $48 of carrying cost per loan. Okay, and let's say that there is another customer, for example 200 square feet, then you incur $96 of carrying cost per loan. How this number is computed? The activity rate times the activity measure, 200 square foot. Okay, 200. So it is just an example. Let's go back to our question. How about the caring for gardening bed? Carrying cost for gardening bed with low maintenance. So in total, $26,400 are assigned to this activity, and you divide this number with the expected activity, 20,000 square foot. Then the activity rate is $1.32 per square foot. Okay. How about the caring for bed with high maintenance? Here, 41,400 assigned to this activity. So you divide with the expected activity level, 15,000 square foot. So $2.76 per square foot. Travel to job. So 3,250 divided by 12,500 miles. So 26 cents per mile. So again, if you have to travel 100 mile to customer A's garden, okay, 100 mile, then you incur travel cost of $26, right? Let's say that you have to travel 200 miles to customer B. Then you have to incur $52 of travel cost. The last category is customer billing and service. Billing and service. So it is $8,750 and there are 25 customers. So $350 per customer. Okay. Okay, we are done with activity rate. Then the next step is second stage allocation. Okay, you already have activity rate for each activity, and then you will be given the expected activity level for each order or for each product or for each customer. Okay, and then all you have to do is multiply the activity rates with activity level of each cost object. Okay, so here Klumper Corporation is a diversified manufacturer of industrial goods. The company's activity-based costing system contains the following 6 activity cost pools and activity rate. So there are 6 activity cost pool. So basically there are 6 activities to account for. So supporting direct labor, machine processing, machine setups, production orders, shipments, and product sustaining. And you already have done the first stage allocation and activity rate computation. So you already have activity rates here. Okay, so activity rates for the supporting direct labor is $6 per direct labor hour. And for machine processing, activity rate is $4 per machine hour. And machine setup cost is $50 per setup. Production orders cost $90 per order. Shipment cost $14 per shipment, and product sustaining $840 per product. Okay, and activity data have been supplied for the following 2 products. So there are 2 products, K425 and M67. So here you are supplied for the information about the activity level. For example, the product K425, the number of units produced per year is 200 units, and M62, 2,000 units are produced. Direct labor hours, 80 direct labor hours are consumed to produce K425. How many units of K425? So 80 hours are consumed to 200 units of K425. Okay. And 500 direct labor hours are consumed to produce 2,000 of M67. Machine hours. 100 machine hours are consumed to produce 200 units of K425. 1,500 machine hours are consumed to produce 2,000 units of M67. Machine setups occurs once for the K425, occurs 4 times for M67. Production order occurs only once for K425 and occurs 4 times for M67. And shipments occurs once for K425 and 10 times for M67. Product sustaining occurs once for each product. How much total overhead cost would be assigned to K425 and M67 using the activity costing system? So all you have to do is multiply the activity rate. Here, activity cost pool. Let's bring each activity cost pools. So supplying direct labor, machine processing, machine setups, production, order, shipments, and sustaining. Okay, so activity, so K425 activity level. So how many direct labor hours are consumed? 80 hours, right? So you multiply this activity level with activity rates of supplying direct labor. So activity rate is $6 per direct labor hour. So in total, $480 are $80 of supplying direct labor costs are consumed to produce K425. Okay, how about M67? Again, activity rate is same, $6 per direct labor hour. And how many direct labor hours are consumed? 500 direct labor hours. So in total, $3,000 of supplying direct labor cost consumed to produce M67. Machine processing. So the activity rate is $4 per machine hour. And how many machine hours? 100 machine hours. So $400 of machine processing cost consumed for at K425. So activity rate $4 per machine hour times 1,500 of machine hours. So in total $6,000 of machine processing cost consumed to produce M67. Machine setup, $50 per setup times 1, so 50, and 50 per setup times 4, 2,000, and 90 per shipment, per order for product order cost times 1, $90, and 90 per order times 4, $360. Shipment, $14 per shipment and 1 shipment, so $14, and $14 per shipment times 10 times of shipment, so 140. Sustaining, product sustaining, so $840 times 1, 840, and 840 times 1, 840. Okay, so in total for K425, $1,874 are assigned to this product. In total, $10,540 are assigned to M67 product. And please note that we did not utilize this information, number of units produced per year. Why? We did not utilize this information, number of units produced per year. Why? Because none of the activities are driven by number of units, right? So each activity is driven by direct labor hour, machine hours, setup, order, shipment, product, but none of the activities are driven by number of units. So we did not utilize this information. Okay. So this highlights the difference between the traditional costing method and the ABC, because the traditional costing method, it usually assign the overhead cost based on the unit of products, right? However, activity-based costing, not many activity costs are driven by unit of products. Rather, we have various multiple activity measures. Okay. So by doing this, by utilizing various types of activities and activity measures, we can more accurately assign overhead cost to cost objects. Okay. In the last exercise, products and customer profitability analysis. So let's compute customer margin. Okay, customer margin. So thermalizing, it produces paragliders. Okay, and one of the customers of thermalizing is Big Sky Outfitter. Okay, and we are requested to compute customer margin for this customer, Big Sky Outfitters. Okay, so to do so, we have to assign cost to cost object. Here, cost object is customer, Big Sky Outfitter. Okay, so cost objects could be the product, cost object could be customer, cost object could be the type of product, etc., etc. Okay, so here the cost object is customer, Big Sky Outfitters. Okay, so thermalizing makes paraglider for sale through specialty sporting goods store. The company has the standard paraglider model, but also makes custom designed paragliders. Management has designed an activity-based costing system with the following activity cost pools and activity rates. So here we have 4 activity cost pools: supporting direct labor, order processing, customer design processing, customer service. And for each activity, we have activity rates. So $26 of supporting direct labor cost incurs per direct labor hour, and $284 order processing cost incurred by one order, and $186 of customer design processing cost incurred per customer design, and $379 customer service cost per customer. So management would like an analysis of profitability of particular customer, Big Sky Outfitters, which has ordered the following products over the last 12 months. So Big Sky Outfitters, during the last year, they ordered 20 standard model gliders and 3 custom designed gliders. Okay. And number of orders, one order for standard model and 3 orders for custom design. Number of custom designs, 0 for standard model and 3 custom designs for custom designed gliders. And direct labor hours per glider is 26 hours and 26.35 hours per glider, and 28 hours per custom designed glider. Okay, so the number of gliders and direct labor per glider, 2 pieces of information indicates the total direct labor hours consumed for each model, right? So the number of gliders, right? Number of gliders times direct labor hours per glider is total direct labor hours, right? So it is a tactic to make the question a little bit more complicated. Anyhow, so selling price per glider is $1,850 for standard model and $2,400 for custom design model. And direct material cost per glider is $564 for standard model and $634 for custom design model. Okay, using the company's activity-based costing system, let's compute the customer margin of Big Sky Outfit. So customer margin is defined by customer revenue from the customer. Okay, revenue from the customer minus cost incurred for the specific customer. Okay, so revenue minus cost is the customer margin. So revenues, how about the revenues? Revenues here, $1,850 for standard model, and we sold 20 standard model glider, and $2,400 of selling price for custom design model, and we sold 3 gliders, custom designed gliders. So in total, revenues are $44,200. Okay. How about the cost? So Big Sky Outfitter, they ordered 20 standard model and 3 custom designed model. So we should accumulate trace all the cost incurred to produce these 23 products, 23 gliders. Okay, so going back to the very beginning of our course, product cost, manufacturing cost consists of direct material, direct labor, and overhead, right? So direct labor, how many direct labor costs are incurred? Direct labor cost here. Direct material cost per glider is $564 for standard model, and we sold 20 standard models, and $634 for custom design model, and we sold 3 custom design model. So in total, direct materials cost $13,180, right? And direct labor. So direct labor cost is direct labor wage rate per hour times total direct labor hour, right? So we have direct labor hours information here. Number of gliders times direct labor hour per glider. So total direct labor hours. For standard model, 20 gliders times 26.35 hours. So anyhow, something. And here, 3 gliders times 28 hours. Okay, something. And we should multiply this total direct labor hours with the wage rate per hour, which is $19.50. So direct labor cost is here 20 gliders times 26.35 hours per glider times wage rate $19.50. And here 3 gliders 28 hours per glider times $19.50. So it is $11,915. And overhead. So why do we learn activity-based costing? To allocate overhead, right? To allocate overhead. So going back to the double the costing, we utilize the predetermined overhead rate and the allocation base to allocate overhead, right? So same here. We use activity-based costing to allocate overhead to cost object. So let's allocate the overhead. So there are 4 types of overhead cost. So overhead costs are driven by 4 activities: supporting direct labor, auto processing, custom design processing, and customer service. Okay, so supporting direct labor and order processing and custom design and customer service. Okay, so based on each activity, we should allocate overhead to this cost object, customer, Big Sky Outfitters. So supplying direct labor, activity rate is $26 per direct labor hour. So direct labor hour is here. So this is for the standard model, and for the custom design model, $26 per direct labor hour times direct labor hour. Direct labor hour is 3 times 28. So supplying direct labor hours in total $15,886 for Big Sky Outfitters. Order processing, the activity rate is 284 per order, right? So how many orders are there? 1 order for standard model and 3 orders for custom design. So 1 order for standard model and 3 order for custom design. It is $1,136. Custom design processing activity, it costs $186 per custom design. So 186 per custom design. How many custom designs are there? So 0 for standard model and 3 for custom design model. So $558. Last, custom service, it cost $379 per customer. Okay, $379 per customer. And how many customer is there? 1, right? One customer. Why? Because there is only 1 customer, Big Sky Outfitter. Okay. So there are 2 types of products, standard model and custom design, ordered by Big Sky Outfitters, but there is only 1 customer who ordered these 2 types of products. Okay, so there is only 1 customer here, so $379. So in total, cost of Big Sky Outfitter is $43,056. Okay. Then revenue minus cost is customer margin. So customer margin is 44,200 minus $33,056. So it is $1,144. Okay, we are done with the exercises for activity-based costing. So the exercises is it seems rather simple because we are already given the types of activities and activity measures and activity rates, etc., etc. But in practice, it is really complicated. Why? Because if you want to figure out what kind of activities are there, you should frequently communicate the managers of each divisions. You should figure out what kind of activities they do. But it is very challenging because sometimes managers, they do not want to disclose what they do, right? So in practice, it is more complicated, but the exercises in textbook is more simple. So let's wrap up today's class. And if you have any questions about the assignments or the midterm and any other things, please come over here.